First Congregational United Church of Christ has undertaken a generational challenge to vision and carry out a successful future for the congregation. This work, titled the Isaiah Project, builds upon the past 14 years of visioning and planning for future growth and success of the congregation. The Isaiah Project was formalized in the spring of 2024 and is the next evolutionary step following many efforts listed below. The roots of the Isaiah Project are much deeper, however. This presentation will share information on the history of First Congregational's improvement campaigns and the outcomes of these efforts. It will include status of current work and future plans. For almost all of the 175-year existence of First Congregational, members have worshiped in 3 buildings. The first church structure, completed in 1853 and affectionately called the Little Brown Church, served the rapidly growing congregation until it was outgrown in 1887. The second home of the congregation opened for services in 1889 and was called the Red Brick Church. This church housed the growing congregation until the early to mid-1960s, when the structure was outgrown again. Major problems identified included traffic and parking problems, absence of fellowship space, and overcrowded rooms. First Congregational moved to its current location in 1968. A strength of the Long Range Planning Committee in that time was to plan and build a church campus that would best serve the needs and purposes of the congregation for many years. For approximately the first 35 years, the structure needed minimal updates besides the normal cyclical maintenance. The congregation is not outgrowing the current facilities, but rather re-envisioning their use for future generations. 2 upgrades of note were completed between 1968 and 1991. The first was the addition of an elevator in the narthex in 1984 to improve accessibility issues. It should be noted that First Congregational was built in an era when accessibility was not in the forefront of people's minds. A 1991 capital campaign provided financial support to update the church organ to solid-state functionality and to complete a roof repair and replacement. Except for the previously noted maintenance, the campus structures have aged well and have been maintained through diligent attention by the Building and Grounds Committee. A building reserve fund supported this maintenance, but is now depleted. Originating over 10 years ago, First Congregational began a series of efforts to consider the future of our congregation and our church home. This was driven by a significant decline in the demographics of mainline churches. From 2011 to 2020, attendance in Wisconsin UCC churches fell by 44%. In addition, First Congregational faces major maintenance and renovation costs with our aging 57-year-old church building. In 2015, the Church Council created the Horizons Building Team to address needs and goals of the congregation. This group's function was to generate building upgrade recommendations to support the church's mission. 3 primary needs emerged. They were a lack of accessibility, inadequate gathering spaces, and creating a 10-year capital maintenance plan. The committee worked diligently over 3 years and had presented building improvement recommendations to the Church Council when the COVID pandemic arrived, stopping all planning in its tracks. It should be noted that many of the recommendations made by this group still exist and are addressed in the current Isaiah Project. In 2021, the Vandersall Collective was engaged to restart improvement efforts and support an analysis of what future steps the congregation could take to continue its future visioning journey. In March of 2022, Vandersall submitted a comprehensive 87-page report reviewing their findings and outlining various choices for First Congregational to move forward. The Vandersall findings captured the mood and the feelings of the church related to moving forward. A major finding of the report was a renewed effort to envision our purpose for the facilities as well as necessary upkeep. 4 overarching goals were clarified and reaffirmed. They included deepening relationships, cultivating discipleship, support for community partnerships, and engaging all generations. It is this vision that, when added to the Horizon Team findings, supports the entry point for the Isaiah Project. In March 2024, a cadre of committed church members convened as the Isaiah Team to synthesize all previous work and move forward with actionable plans. The work was organized around 5 main groups, including the Steering Committee, Community Partnerships Task Force, Finance Task Force, Grounds Task Force, and the Building Task Force. The Steering Committee provides leadership, vision, criteria, and support for the task forces as well as other key functions. The Community Partnerships Task Force was charged with developing future plans and examining opportunities to live out the church's community mission. The Finance Task Force was charged with providing financial guidance and support for the Steering Committee and all task forces. Our church is incredibly blessed with some of the most beautiful property in the Appleton area. The Grounds Task Force was charged with visioning and planning as to how to maximize accessibility, usage, and community use. Finally, the Building Task Force was charged with analyzing building maintenance needs and utilizing congregational community feedback on desired changes to our buildings that will best support worship, ministries, and church life moving forward. Between March and the end of 2024, all committees met on a calendared schedule as they considered the charges and goals provided by the Steering Committee. Currently, progress updates are being prepared to share with the Church Council and the congregation at large. Additional developing information will be shared, and a communication plan will inform all church members of progress of the Isaiah Team.